And that was the Nicodemus remix of Nina Simone's Ooh Ooh Child. How's it going, Mike?
Good. Nice choice of a song there too.
Yeah, man,
Makes
I'm choosing songs today that'll pacify me because being off this show for a month, I've seemed to have a lot of pent up aggression built up here
Yeah, no, I hear you too.
towards
I've got
conservatives, not no longer towards my fellow progressives.
well, that's okay. We're here and that's what's important
Yeah.
and I know we both enjoy this and I know that what we're talking about there's a lot of importance to having just having a dialogue.
Yeah.
And okay, so that's where I kind of want to go back to. We over the last 6 months when we've been doing the show, there's always certain things that kind of happen and fall in between shows, and we didn't get to cover everything.
Yeah.
And with the aim of our show being to give people some ammunition in order to enter into conversation with conservative supporters. Here's the short list that I have right now, and now I'm working through this, and it's going to be more thorough. And when I get it all finished, and I'm going to hand it over to you, and we'll put it up on the Opposition Radio webpage. But here we go. So on contempt for democracy and the rule of law.
Okay.
Now some of these topics, it's not about whether you agree or disagree with the actual topic. It's sometimes about how the issue was handled. For instance, the Canadian Wheat Board, whether you support the use of the Canadian Wheat Board or not, the government unilaterally dismantled the Canadian Wheat Board, even though the Canadian Wheat Board Act said that the farmers that use the wheat board, who are the owners of the wheat board, should have a plebiscite before there is any alteration or removal of the office of
Yeah.
the wheat board
Yeah.
desk. And yet we have a government that entered into no discussion, didn't allow the farmers to have a
They
plebiscite.
said the general election was their plebiscite.
Right.
So the
And
farmers that were voting for conservatives based on religious values or based on the fact that they opposed the long gun registry, thinking that they would still be able to have a vote on the wheat board before it was dismantled, they were outsmarted.
that's right. So the farmers, I mean, they tried, and they're still trying. It's going through court, and we'll have to see exactly what happens here. This
Right.
isn't.
Well, you mean it's going through court, but there has been a ruling already. The first lawsuit has been settled in favor of the farmers, the wheat board itself,
Mhm.
calling upon the Harper government to or saying to the Harper government that it's illegal for this legislation is illegal. You cannot do this. And the Harper government has said, okay, well, why don't we just do it anyway while we appeal it? And once it's done, it's too late.
That's
You know what I
right.
mean? That's
Which is another flouting of the rule of law.
yeah,
I mean, this is the whole method here. So there's the wheat board. There's an issue that people can talk about how there is no respect for the democratic process or the rule of law. Another one would be the new healthcare funding. Again, no dialogue with the province, no interaction with healthcare organizations. It was a unilateral diktat that was a take it or leave it. Uh, uh, Funding, yes, there was an agreement to funding, but even in that, now this is a big issue, and I don't think we should get right into it. We can still talk about it down the road because it's so very important for Canada. As the Canadian Healthcare Act seems fundamental to me, at least, as far as what being Canadian is about. Um, but uh, in other words, we can't get right into the topic, but it is an attack on the Canadian Healthcare Act in itself too. Um, how about this one?
yeah.
Tax dollars used for promoting conservative agenda. $53.8 million of tax money was spent to promote the Conservatives' Economic Action Plan, which is a portion of their platform.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I I didn't think we were allowed to do that.
So, people at your lunch tables across the country, please tap your neighbor on the shoulder and make him aware of this. Because you know how people work real hard and lose a bunch of their tax money? Well, let people know that Stephen Harper is pissing your tax money right back into your face. Okay,
Exactly.
and using your hard-earned money to shape your attitudes and your viewpoints. That's not right.
No.
He's probably skirted around the law in some creative and despicable way. But the fact of the matter is, everybody knows that this is wrong. We have to stop politicians in general, and especially Stephen Harper, from doing this. You know what I mean? We have to stop it.
And the next one I would move to is illegal campaign advertising tactics. In 2006, the Conservative Party did a little bit of a shell game with their funding. I believe the cap was somewhere around $18 million a party is allowed to spend on campaign advertising, and then there are separate budgets for local ridings, and they would take some money out of a local riding and shuffle it over and use it for advertising in an area where they felt they really needed to hit hard near the end of the campaign cycle.
Yeah.
And in the end, 4 members of the Conservative Party pled guilty, but with the charges essentially being dropped and a fine being...
They didn't plead guilty. The charges against the 4 operatives were essentially dropped. This is my understanding of it. The charges against the 4 operatives were essentially dropped, and the riding associations pled guilty to a far lesser charge that included a fine. So there was no admission of wrongdoing on the part of any Conservative operative, even though the evidence indicates, and the guilty plea on behalf of the riding associations indicates, that there was a crime committed in terms of election finance law.
Now, but they didn't admit that there was wrongdoing. The judge in the case did say that there was a willful breaking of campaign laws.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the judge sees the major discrepancy with the law here. And the Conservatives, well, they came out and they said it was a big victory for the Conservative Party.
So, that's called spin, and if you're stupid enough to buy into that, you're probably not listening to this show. So we get to laugh about it.
Yeah. Okay, another one would be 30 more seats for Parliament. Again, no dialogue with the provinces. They didn't even let the Senate get to it. There was no debate. And there will be no amendments to this.
The Republicans do the same thing in the States. They're constantly rigging the boundaries of their constituencies to favor their fortunes. So no surprise here. The Conservatives will benefit from this. The Canadian taxpayer is going to pay millions of dollars more per year to...
Yeah, $19.3 million per year to fund another 30 seats in Parliament, which, if you ask me, aren't necessary. I mean, we could redistribute those seats just by changing the ridings around.
Yeah, okay. See, Congress in the United States has about 100 more representatives than we do in Canada, but they have 10 times the population. So no, we don't need more politicians in Ottawa, because this, essentially, we've already discussed it in this show. They really don't do too much except for vote how they're told to vote when they get there, and delegate all their actual riding duties to their office assistants and show up for photo ops. Okay, we don't need more MPs. That's just a stupid waste of money. But I think that the Harper government has seized on an opportunity to improve its future fortunes in terms of the next election.
They'll draw the line so that it favors Conservative voters. I mean, you can carve out pockets and take an area where there's a huge Liberal population or Liberal supporting population, cut them in half and attach them to ridings with more Conservatives, and then that huge bubble of non-Conservatives is pretty much made null and void in our first past the post system. So
the Conservative Party has charted demographics in this country so accurately that they know exactly where the Conservatives live and how to rearrange these borders to improve their chances of winning in each seat across the country. So yes, and people stand for it. We can't do anything about it now except for get angry and tell other people. This is a waste of your tax money. There's people working hard in this country, working hard at jobs that they're afraid of losing, paying a huge chunk of their paycheck every week to the government in form of income taxes and consumption taxes like sales taxes and stuff like that. And the government, to a large extent, provides us services that we absolutely need, but to a very large extent pisses our money away. And this is an example of that. we can't do anything. Inform people. What the fuck?
So our next one, after all the fear mongering and the attaching ourselves to American foreign policy, I guess it's time for security barriers in Parliament Hill. That's $8.6 million.
You're gonna need them. You're gonna need them because I guess we, before Stephen Harper is done tearing the ass out of this country, the protests that we're likely to see will put every other protest that we've seen in this country to shame. We're gonna see unrest. There's no way around it, because the redistribution of wealth up the socioeconomic ladder, combined with the militarization of our foreign policy, combined with the religious fundamentalism that is creeping into the agenda in stealthy ways, there's going to be a lot of decent people that are going to get upset. The Occupy movement does not show any signs of fading away. There's a lot of behind the scenes organization going on right now. There is going to be dissent in our society, and now, you know what? I remember a time when I was taking the bus home. I was 20 years old, going to Queen's University, taking the bus back to North Bay. It had a layover in Ottawa of about 8 hours. It occurred between like 4 in the morning and noon, so I had nothing to do. I walked from the bus station up to Parliament Hill just for the fuck of it. You know what? I wanted to go inside. So I was like, I wonder if anyone left the door open. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So so I walked around all of Parliament Hill looking for any back door, any little janitor's entrance or exit that was left open, so I could go in and take a look around. You know, I had time to kill. I wanted to go and check out Parliament Hill. You know what I mean? And sure enough, I found a door that I walked through, and boom, I got to do a little walk around at like 6 in the morning. You know what I mean?
Nice.
And that was cool. I was like, this is a memorable experience for me. This is great. You know what I mean?
I don't think you'll be able to do that anymore.
No, I think you might get shot now. If you get to climb over the barriers, then your reward will be a bullet, probably. I don't know.
Exactly.
Because I'm basically what I'm talking about right now is something that they would call terrorism. You know what I mean? But I was just a stupid kid thinking that what other way would I want to spend my time before the restaurants open in Ottawa, other than just, I don't know, screw around, see if I can go take a little private tour of the Parliament Hill. I had no malicious intent. I just genuinely wanted to see it again. You know what I mean? And had some time. So okay, and so barriers, great, fantastic. So we're militarizing our government buildings.
Yeah, we had of course the bombing campaign in Libya that cost us $50 million.
That's it.
Then you have the omnibus crime bill, which is 9 distinct bills that are all crammed into one.
That's not even costed out. That's not
costed out, and I'm going to get to that in a second. But in the aspect of it that is against the spirit of democracy is that to put 9 bills into one bill and make everyone vote on it, there might be 2 or 3 in there that certain people could support, but now they're going to have to support all 9 or not support any. That does not promote any democratic principles.
Yeah, exactly.
No amendments there either.
Yeah, and while we're on the subject of flouting of democratic principles, did you mention that the Harper government has decided how it's going to interact with the provinces with regard to healthcare funding? They've decided it, and they just told this is something that is normally negotiated amongst the premiers and the prime minister's office.
Right.
Okay. It's normally negotiated, but this is the first time in Canadian history that a new funding formula has been put forth by the federal government without negotiating with the premiers. It's on a take-it-or-leave-it basis.
Yeah, previously the idea had been that federal funding would be attached to the province's ability to agree or at least be influenced by the federal government to some extent, so that the Healthcare Act would be presented across Canada with some reasonable semblance across the whole country. Not anymore, though. He's pretty much essentially asking the provinces to sort things out for themselves, and that what they get is the freedom of no influence from the federal government, which is the federal government wiping their hands clean of the act.